Hey folks, Benthelooney back again with another Q&A video. Some of you probably feel bad that I didn't get to your questions last week. That's alright, I'll just pick up where I left off. I'm continuing the Q&A videos to celebrate 9,000 subscribers and growing. All thanks to all of you. And it's thanks to all of you lovely people. Alright, let's get started again. Congratulations! My question is, what is your favorite and least favorite part of YouTube? My favorite thing about YouTube is it allows independent creators to create their content how they want to make it. They don't have to worry about interference from a studio. They can make what they like to make and make a living off of it. That is flat out cool. My least favorite part would be how difficult it is to be successful on YouTube though. I know success isn't easy, but it's really hard when the system is broken and not in your favor. It sucks because when YouTube has to change rules because other people are abusing the system, everybody pays for it, not just the people who are responsible. And that seems kind of unfair. So other people have to work around the rule changes in order to be successful, which could be quite daunting. It's also frustrating how people who seem to put the littlest of effort in their content are actually more popular than the people who break their butts working hard in order to make something of themselves. But, whatever. Guess that's just how it goes. What is your favorite / least favorite internet critic? I'm not really a fan of critics, to be honest. I just don't get what puts critics on such a high horse that they feel that their opinions are the ones that really matter, and they get to talk about movies like they're super intelligent or something. Hey, you're individuals just like the rest of us. Just because you review movies for a living doesn't mean your opinion is above everybody else's. In my opinion, your opinion is just another opinion. Nothing more, nothing less. That is to say, I don't like hearing other people's opinions. I do, but I get really annoyed when movie critics get really pretentious and like to talk about how intelligent they are when it comes to movies. It's like, nobody wants to hear that. But I would have to say my favorite internet critic is the Angry Video Game Nerd. As for least favorite, well, can't really think of one off the top of my head. What was your favorite school subject? I am a huge history buff, so history was definitely my favorite class in school. I ate all that information up and read as much about it as I could, and I still read a lot about history today. Who is best Jim? I would have to say Garnet. Ben, you deliciously polite man. If you do not answer this, I shall sniff you through your monitor. Who is your favorite reviewer on YouTube? Since you asked so nicely, I already answered this question, but for you, I'll answer it again. It's the Angry Video Game Nerd. What are some of your favorite episodes of The Simpsons? Least favorite, pick 5 for each. Who's your pick to win the World Series? Have you watched my balloon video? I put it on your Skype. What are some of your favorite game shows, or do you even bother with those? One does not simply pick a favorite Simpsons episode. Honestly, it's one of those shows where I enjoy every episode to it that's hard for me to pick my favorite, let alone 5. As hard as it is, I know hands down my favorite episode so far is Lisa the Vegetarian. I just love that one so much. The first time I saw it, I knew it was my favorite, and 10 years later, it's still my favorite. Can't think of any runners-up though, but I'll think about it and see if I can think of any. Of course, my pick to win the World Series is the St. Louis Cardinals. I know they were a bit sluggish this year, but they're one of those teams that they keep fighting and they don't stop until it's all over. I'm so proud of them and I'm hopeful they'll make it to the playoffs and eventually the World Series. Now, I haven't seen your balloon video yet, but I'll get around to it whenever I have time. I'm not really a big fan of game shows. Can I tell you a pizza pun, or would that be too cheesy? You already did. Congratulations. That really made me laugh. I'm really curious to know what your ideas for your own animated series are. So what are they? Well, I'm not one who likes to give secrets to just everybody so soon, but I will say one that I'm working on that I'm going to release sometime in the future is Daisy and Dexter Mysteries. Basically, it's the idea I had for Daisy and Dexter way back when, but I decided to retool it and make it a mystery comedy series. I think that format is where I'm going to get the most laughs out of the characters. And I know, thinking about it every day, that you folks are going to love it, and I'm going to have a lot of fun creating it. So that's something to look forward to. As for the other two I have planned, well, you'll know about it when the time comes. My good friend SB99 asks, which animation styles influence your artwork? After 5 years, how do you still feel about the Link Tunes show? Which animation studios do you dislike? How would you range the Loud House sisters from worst to best? What obscure cartoons would you consider underrated? I love being asked this question, SB, thank you so much. My drawing influences include Trigger Animation Studios, the Kirby video game series, classic cartoons, Hanna-Barbera, and internet artwork. The Looney Tunes show, yeah, I was kind of mad about it back then, but you know, looking back, now that I'm matured, it's harmless. There's really nothing wrong with it, it's just another interpretation of the Looney Tunes characters. Was it for me? No, but I can see why a lot of people might like it. Well, there's not really any animation studios that I actively want to hate or anything, but so far, Illumination Animation has yet to make an animated film that I like. So, I guess I'll have to say that. Oh, come on, mate. You know I can't rank the Loud Sisters from best to worst. There is no worst, they're all great. But you know my favorite Loud sister is Luna. Obscure cartoons that I would consider underrated is Rocky and Bullwinkle. Sure, a lot of people love it, but you know, it really doesn't get as much attention as Looney Tunes, Tom and Jerry, and all those other classic cartoons. And that's a dang shame. I really think it deserves a lot more attention because it was one of the most innovative shows of its time, and it's influenced a lot of modern day cartoons, so it's definitely a landmark in terms of animation. Thoughts on Comedy Central's Key and Peele? I saw a few skits from Key and Peele. It's pretty funny. Can you show us what Looney and Neb look like now? I don't feel like drawing those two anymore. They're in the past, so it's best to just leave them alone. Who is your #1 favorite YouTuber? Basically any animation channel. That includes people I'm friends with. They work so hard and make some really great work that they really deserve all the recognition they can get, and I admire all their efforts. They're my favorites. I love supporting as many animation channels as I can, and shouting out smaller ones that don't quite have enough attention that I feel they deserve. I heard in a video of yours a few years back that you like to listen to David Bowie, so do you have a favorite song by him? Yes, I do. It's Heroes. After he died, I marathoned that song over and over again, and I almost cried because I couldn't believe that the rock legend passed away. Every time I think of David Bowie, I think of that song. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck would? Depends on how much wood the chicken brings him when it crosses the street. Do you like cereal? Yes. What are your thoughts on the preview of Milo Murphy's Law? I'm actually looking forward to it. I like the idea of Weird Al Yankovic making a cartoon. I'm a big fan of Weird Al's music, and I'm sure his sense of humor will translate well in a cartoon. Heck, his music is basically cartoons in music form, so animation is perfect for the polka prankster. Can I be in the Q&A? Can I ask 99 questions instead of 100? What's 9 plus 10? Yes, you can be in my Q&A. You're in it right now. No, you cannot ask 99 questions. 98 is my limit. 9 plus 10 is 19. What's your favorite types of music? Classic rock, heavy metal, punk rock, blues, hip-hop, southern rock, country, doo-wop, and R&B. Have you ever watched 7 Deadly Sins on Netflix? I have not. I do not have a Netflix account, but I'll probably check out 7 Deadly Sins when I have the chance. It looks really interesting. Thoughts on Donald Trump? The downfall of the presidential race, and the reason nobody takes America seriously. Do you like Pokemon? I watched the anime a lot as a kid. I know I said I didn't like the show very much now, but looking back, I have some childhood nostalgia for it. I'll watch an episode occasionally just to revisit my childhood. I got nothing against Pokemon. What is your favorite thing about the Brony fandom? How it's made up of a lot of kind, mature, and generous adults who are always willing to help each other out and just want to get together to celebrate a cartoon they all love. And they're showing society that not all men have to be masculine bros who just want to work out and stuff like that. Real men watch My Little Pony and they're not afraid to admit it. That I can respect. What's your favorite cartoon? Okay, I know I said I don't like to be favorites, but since the last Q&A you guys really got me thinking, and I think I finally decided what my all-time favorite cartoon would be. Here it is. Rocky and Bullwinkle. I grew up with it, and as an adult, it's only gotten better. It's one of those shows that I can watch over and over again and never get tired of it. I also can't think of any piece of media that's influenced my sense of humor more than Rocky and Bullwinkle. So, there you go. Peridot or Lapis? Well, from the little bit I did see of Steven Universe, I didn't get to see much of Peridot or Lapis, but I could say that I think Peridot is the more interesting of the two. And thanks for the congratulations. I'm glad to see I've entertained you this long, and I'm glad you're still with me. When did you get into drawing? I would have to say I was around 6 or 7 years old when I started drawing. What I used to do as a kid is I would draw on paper, like characters from my favorite cartoons, and I would cut them out, and I would play with them, and make my own little adventures. It got to the point where I started creating my own characters because I got tired of reusing characters that I watched on TV. Good times. What are your thoughts on Gumball and Darwin's new voices in the latest seasons of Gumball? Were you really afraid of Barney and other preschool education garbage as a kid, or was it just a joke? I actually like the new voices of Gumball and Darwin. I really can't tell the difference between them and the other kids, so I think they're doing a good job. As for the later seasons, I actually like The Amazing World of Gumball. I think it's getting better with each season. I don't see any seasonal rot or anything. I think they're getting more creative as the show goes on, which I really like. No, I was never afraid of Barney and Friends. That was just a joke. In my top 11 scariest childhood moments video, you could say that the donkey scene from Pinocchio was the scariest. The Barney thing was just a big joke. But it comes down to the fact that as a little kid, I really wasn't a big fan of preschool shows, to be honest. Seeing as how I grew up with Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon and all those cartoons, I'd rather watch cartoon characters blow each other up and hit each other with mallets than see them hugging each other and being friends. So, I was never a really big fan of educational shows, so that's where that fear came from in my videos. What to you makes a truly likable character? My favorite characters are ones that I can relate to. No matter how big or how small it is, if a character has something that I can point to and say, hey, I would do that in that situation, then I immediately get attached to them. Or, if they remind me of somebody I really care about or knew in real life, that's another way that I get them to like them. So, when I'm creating my own characters, I like to put a little bit of relatability in them, just so people can find them appealing and be attracted to them. I think believability and relatability all come down to making a great character. That's the main crucial element. If your characters don't feel human, then nobody's going to care for them. That's basic storytelling 101 right there. Have you seen the Rankin Boss specials like Frosty the Snowman or Santa Claus is Coming to Town? If so, what are your thoughts on them? What are your current thoughts on reviewers like Mr. Renter, Riddle Taxi, and Nostalgia Critic? The only Rankin Boss holiday special I used to watch was Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. That was always my favorite, mostly because the abominable snow monsters scared me when I was a kid. As for the reviewers, they're alright, I guess. I watch them a lot. I tried to ask Rebel Taxi and Mr. Renter if they wanted to do a crossover review, but neither of them never got back to me. Such a shame because I was really looking forward to working with them. I already answered this question, Tooncom Studios, but thanks so much for asking it. You're a really great friend. What made you change your mind on Pixar? Well, I had a long discussion with my best friend Dell about Pixar movies. I told him how I felt about them, and he flat out said something that made me open my eyes. Dude, you can't go into Pixar movies expecting them to be super creative. You just have to expect a good time. And that hit me like a ton of lead. So, I started to watch some Pixar movies with a more open mind, and I just started to enjoy them for what they are, rather than thinking they were going to be more than they actually were. So I've actually grown a soft spot for Pixar. I still wouldn't say they're my favorite animation studio, and I wish movies at the Academy Awards would get more attention than them, but I've got nothing against them personally. Have you heard and watched One Punch Man? If so, what are your thoughts on it? I have heard of it. I know the main character, seeing as how he's popping up all over the internet, but I haven't got around to watching it yet. Why does my ass bleed when it itches? Because you scratch it? What is your most hated movie of all time? There's that hate word again. I don't like using that personally. I don't know, I haven't seen a lot of movies that personally ticked me off or made me say, wow, I just want to punch somebody after seeing it. But I will say movies that I just don't get are Christopher Nolan movies. I know a lot of people like them and everything, but I just don't get them. They're a little too talky for my liking, and a lot of the stuff that people say is cool and innovative about his movies are things that other directors have done much better than he did. Not to mention that I feel that he's restricted to being super realistic rather than just having an imagination and making his movies be more than what they can be. But that's just his style, and I can't fault him for that. I'm just not too entertained by them. Why don't you like Fairly Odd Parents? It's just one of those cartoons that got old after a while, especially because it keeps going. Are there any Family Guy episodes you like? I would have to say the only Family Guy episode I laughed at from start to finish would be To Love and Die in Dixie. That was just a well-made episode, and I'll be lying if I said I didn't enjoy it. Question, did you know Rebel Taxi made fun of you in his 90s kid rant video? Yes, and it was funny. Would you rather drink a shot of moonshine or a cup of gross hot watered down beer? Well, I don't drink alcohol, so neither. What's your opinion on anime? Would you consider it a cartoon? I love anime. Whenever I finish an anime show, I'm starting a new one. You could say I'm kind of addicted to it. Yes, I would consider it a cartoon. It's Japanese cartoons after all. That's what anime is. Why wouldn't it be anything else? Are you still drawing cartoon porn? Depends on what your definition of cartoon porn is. But in my definition, no. I'm an artist, I can draw whatever the hell I want. And if you're offended by nudity, you probably shouldn't be on the internet. Which cartoon was the very first you ever watched? Transformers was a cartoon that was before my time. I've seen a little bit of it, and it's just not for me. I honestly don't know what the first cartoon I watched was, but if I had to guess, it was probably Looney Tunes. What is your thoughts on YouTubers' commentaries of your videos? Did you watch the 2016 Ghostbusters? Criticism is always a good thing to help an artist get better, but I think the commentary videos went about it all wrong. Instead of offering to help me respectively, such as sending me private messages on how I can make my videos better, or just posting in my comments, they were too focused on humiliating me rather than talking to me in a mature manner in order to help me out. Thankfully, I managed to extend the olive branch to some of my big commentators, and we made peace. So, there's some good that came out of that. Yes, I have seen the 2016 Ghostbusters. Meh, it's one of those movies that felt like it didn't need to exist. What are your thoughts on the YouTube copyright system? What are your thoughts on YouTube's new rules? Copyright of its very nature is a good thing because it protects other people's products from being stolen. So I do understand that. I do think they do go a little overboard with all the copyright strikes on videos that are clearly fair use. So I think that's where the system is broken. Wouldn't be a problem if it wasn't generated by an automatic bot that detects third-party content automatically. As for the new YouTube rules concerning the guidelines, I'm not too worried about them. Since my videos are family friendly, I don't have to worry about getting ad revenue taken away from me due to controversial titles and whatnot. But I do think it's YouTube's poor attempt to try to censor and please the advertisers, which isn't going to work because the creators are not going to stand for it. So I feel it's one of those things that isn't going to stay in place and it's eventually going to get changed. Nothing to worry about. Where's Lisa Looney? Do you the hero of tomorrow? Who's Lisa the Looney? And I can't answer your other question because I don't know what you mean. What is the most annoying thing about your haters? I'd say the most annoying thing about my haters is they mostly use outdated points about me in order to hate me rather than acknowledging the fact that I have improved and have changed a lot of my opinions on things. But I guess they just like hating me. Can't do anything about that. Do you watch porn? Sexiest animated female? Honestly, do I even need to answer that first question? We all know everybody does it. If anybody says they don't, they're lying. There's too many sexy animated females to name. I can't think of just one. Pokemon or Digimon is better? I grew up with both Pokemon and Digimon, so I would say that I really like them both. I can't pick one over the other. Though I would say that in more cases, Digimon is the most interesting of the two. What are your thoughts on PewDiePie? I'm not really a fan of PewDiePie's videos, but I congratulate him on his success. He seems like a really nice guy in real life and gives a lot of the money he makes off of his videos to charity. So, good on him. Who is best Disney princess? My favorite since I was a kid has always been Ariel. I just loved her rebellious attitude. Though in more modern times, Tiana from Princess and the Frog is a really great one. I love her hard work and determination to get where she wants to go. Gotta admire that in a princess. Soccer moms are the worst. Do you like black people? Of course I like black people. What, just because I'm from the country that automatically means I'm a racist redneck? No. I've had black friends my whole life. I listen to black music. Some of my favorite directors are black. I love everybody. I don't care what color you are. Just as long as you have a nice personality, I respect you. I would like to say that soccer moms are probably the biggest threat to entertainment nowadays because they're the kind of people who threaten corporations to pull advertising from shows they don't like. Now, how fair is that? That goes against the conservative stance that they're trying to take on everything. They're the kind of people that just need to learn to take care of their kids and not depend on the TV to be a babysitter for them. Why don't you put color in your videos? It's just a style choice. I'm not going to do it for all my cartoons that I make, but for these little story videos that I'm making right now, it's just a style choice basically. I was inspired by other YouTubers like Domix, The Odd Ones Out, and Jade Animations and how they make their videos. I think it's a cute little style and I add my own spin to it. So that's why there's not much color, but I wouldn't say there's no color at all. I definitely put some in there. Have you read Diary of a Wimpy Kid? If so, thoughts? If you were forced to play a sport, what would it be? You're part Irish. Have you ever visited Ireland? I know of Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I have not read it, so I can't give my thoughts on it. I would play baseball. It's laid back and suited for a guy my size who's not very athletic. No, I have never visited Ireland. What's worse, censorship or copyright? Like I mentioned, copyright itself is a good thing to help protect other people's products, so there's no harm there. It's just when it goes overboard that it becomes a bad thing. Censorship, I think, is the worst. I have always been outspoken about censorship, and I do believe that artists should be allowed to say whatever they want. It's in the Constitution, for Pete's sake. Freedom of speech, the First Amendment. Give us our freedom to say what we want. Stop trying to censor us. Stop trying to protect people from the truth. Sorry to get a little political there. Have you heard of the Rockefeller explosion? If so, what are your thoughts on the show? What do you think of The Who, the Rolling Stones, and Frank Zappa's music? What are your thoughts on Robert Crumb? Do you think that puppetry and animatics deserve just as much respect as animation? I don't know what the Rockefeller explosion is, so I can't answer that question. I've always preferred Bob Clampett, Frank Tashland's, and Tex Avery's Daffy over Chuck Jones's and Friz Freeling's. I think Daffy works best as a crazy off-the-wall character, and those directors did him best. I love The Who, Rolling Stones, and Frank Zappa's music a lot. I'm not really familiar with Robert Crumb's work, so I really can't give my opinion on that. And yes, I do think puppetry and animatronics deserve just as much respect as animation. Just as much work, if not more, gets put into bringing puppets and animatronics to life, so those puppeteers deserve as much praise as they can get. Cats or dogs? Favorite color? Well, I love both cats and dogs, but if I had to come down to a choice, I would say cats. They're a really laid-back animal and I love to cuddle with them. My favorite colors are pink and purple. What's a cliche in cartoons that has always bothered you? One cartoon cliche that I never understood is whenever a character disguises themselves in the most obvious to disguise where you can still tell it's that character and they still don't know it's them. It's like, even as a kid, I was like, how the heck can you not see that it's obviously them? So I always get unnerved whenever that cliche pops up. And it's one of those cliches that I want to make fun of when I'm making cartoons. Favorite actor? My all-time favorite actor would have to be Spencer Tracy. Rarely do I follow actors when it comes to movies, but he is so good that I track down every single one of his movies that he's been in just so I can watch him act. And it's no surprise that a lot of my all-time favorite movies star him. What did you think of the Simpsons and Family Guy crossover? And the Simpsons and Futurama crossover? The Simpsons and Family Guy's crossover biggest problem was it wasn't a collaboration between the Simpsons writers and the Family Guy writers. It was a Family Guy episode that happened to have the Simpsons in it. So, it was all Family Guy humor, and the Simpsons really didn't work well in that kind of universe. The Simpsons and Futurama crossover I really liked. My only problem was that it was really short and it didn't get enough time for all the characters to interact with each other. Other than that, I got enjoyment out of it. How was life in Chicago? Am I too late to ask a question? No, you're not. Life in Chicago was different. Growing up a country boy my whole life, it was really hard to get adjusted to the city life. I'm the kind of person that loves wide open spaces and fresh air, and I don't like a bunch of people constantly walking by my house or driving by or anything like that. So I got claustrophobic pretty quickly. Not to mention that a lot of the people I met there just have this sense of entitlement. Like, they expect you to be nice and to give them things just because they asked. Like some of my roommates, They would casually ask for food that I bought myself. And I'm like, seriously, you're gonna bum food off me? Get your own food. The way I was raised, I take care of myself and I don't like asking people for things. Difference in backgrounds played into that. Not to mention it was the kind of city where it felt like if you ticked off the wrong person, you'd be dead in a ditch somewhere. And being a shy person, it was really hard for me to get adjusted to that because I didn't want to say the wrong thing and end up dead in a ditch somewhere. So I mostly kept to myself and didn't talk to many people, which in turn got depressing after a while. I'm out of Chicago now, and hopefully if I can help it, I never want to go back there again. I'm going to live in the country my whole life if I can help it. Have you ever thought about being a guest star in Super Planet Dolan? I never thought they took guest stars. Well, if they were willing to accept me as a guest star, sure, I'd be happy to drop by and see if I can do anything with them. Do you like Chinese food? What's your favorite day of the week? Wings or pizza? Yes, I love Chinese food. It's probably my favorite foreign food ever. Whenever I get the hankering for Chinese, I go to a all-you-can-eat Chinese buffet that's right here in my town, and I just pig out. My favorite day of the week is Friday, for obvious reasons. And I would say I prefer pizza over wings. Corn? You like it? And what do you think of the Odd Ones Out? I've heard a lot of Korn songs. They're pretty good. I'll listen to some of their albums all the way through sometime when I get the chance. And I love the Odd Ones Out. He inspired my new videos that I make, and he's a really cool guy. He follows me on Twitter, and yeah, I really like him. Limited animation or full animation? Have you heard of Source Filmmaker? Both limited and full animations can look really well if done right. Really can't say I have a preference. Yes, I have heard of Source Filmmaker. What do you like about drawing? Great question. My favorite thing about drawing is just constantly getting better. How I make myself feel when I finally do make a really great drawing and I'm like, I did it. I can't believe I did it. It's that drive that constantly keeps me going and wanting to improve my craft. And I just love creating characters that I have sitting in my head and putting them on the page for the first time and seeing how they turn out. Drawing is the kind of thing that whenever I feel stressed, I just do it and it takes my mind off of everything that's bothering me. Can't imagine my life without it. Thoughts on Clay Claymore? I honestly have no idea what that guy's problem is. I tried several times to ask him what he has against me, but they've all ended in him just being a jerk. I'm convinced he's just a troll. His main goal is to tick people off, so I'm done trying to bother with him. Are there any cartoons you used to not care for but have warmed up to now? Yes, Scooby-Doo. I know, huge shocker, but I watched more of a pup named Scooby-Doo in the first series, Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? And I remembered how much fun I used to have with Scooby-Doo when I was a kid. Sure, they did go a little overboard with Scooby-Doo over the years, but when Scooby-Doo is good, it's really good. Not to mention I still love the late 90s, early 2000s Scooby-Doo movies where the monsters are real. I wish they continued in that format because I think it opened the doors for so many creative ideas. But for what it is, Scooby-Doo is a pretty decent cartoon. What's your favorite female background pony in MLP FIM? Derpy, of course. Who doesn't love Derpy? Who are some of your favorite anime dub voice actors? What's a movie released recently that you consider a new classic? Who are some of your favorite anime characters? Oh boy, where do I start with this list? Lisa Ortiz, Vic Mignogna, Laura Bailey, Justin Cook, Christopher Sabat, Steve Bloom, Lucy Christian, Kirami Lay, Travis Willingham, Chuck Huber, Monica Rial. I could go on and on. I would say Kubo and the Two Strings is a new classic that I really love. Seriously, that movie is so good. It blew me away. It reminded me why I love movies. If you haven't seen it, see it if you can. Buy the DVD. Just support this movie. It needs to be seen. And I would say my all-time favorite anime character is Lena Inverse. I love her. Everything about her. Ben, do you want to do a collab animation skit with me? Of course. When can you start? What are your current thoughts on the Amanda Show? What was your favorite GameCube game when you had one? Besides FBI Warring of Doom, what is another Invader Zim episode that stands out to you? What is your favorite Darkwing Duck episode that has Negaduck in it? The Amanda Show was funny when I was a kid. As an adult, it was funny when I was a kid. My favorite GameCube game was Super Smash Bros. Melee. Big shock, I know. Another Invader Zim episode that stands out to me is the one where Zim gets kidnapped by those aliens and they think he's a human. It's like, every time I watch that episode, it just cracks me up due to how stupid those aliens that kidnap Zim are. Not to mention my all-time favorite joke from the show when they say, "Don't worry, our ship is disguised to where humans won't be able to tell." And then it shows a giant whale floating around the sky, and a guy's like, hey, look at that. Cracks me up every time. And I would have to say my favorite Darkwing Duck episode with Negaduck would have to be Justice Ducks. Alright folks, I think I've answered all the questions that you people were kindly enough to ask me that weren't repeats of other questions. Thank you guys so much, so much for asking me all these questions. You guys are literally amazing. And thanks again for 9,000 subscribers and counting. You guys are the reason I continue to make videos, and I'm so happy to do it for each and every one of you. I love reading your comments and chatting with you guys. I could go on and on about you folks, and I just love you all so much. Don't feel bad if I didn't answer any of your questions in these videos. I might have missed them, or somebody already asked something similar and I answered it. So, if you guys have any more questions that I didn't get to, feel free to ask me in the comments, and I'd be more than happy to answer them for you. Until next week, take it easy, fam. Hey folks, check out OWLQUEEN Animations. This animator makes short little animations that are quick little jokes that are sure to get a laugh out of you. She's a smaller channel now, but with your support she can keep growing and get better and making more animations. So, drop by her channel and give her a look. Links to her social media will be in the description box.